You have no idea who is needing you to work that hard for inspiration or is needing you to work that hard to say, I want somebody like this on my team.
But Dr. Carl, because I think that you bring a sense of healing in a different way.
No, if you shout time like that and I still see 2 grains of sand, I will not talk to you. I know who you are. Damn! And there's still a grain left. And the answer is the Eiffel Tower. Anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Catch Up Podcast. We're super excited to be here today. And as always, I'm your host, Blake the Champ, joined by
Jay Smooth, aka Jared Smith.
Before we get things started today, we want to send a big shout out to Crocs for powering these episodes. We love you guys so much.
Yes.
And then, of course, guys, as you can hear, I'm crispy clear because of road. A big shout out to you guys as well. We appreciate you. Today on the show, we have a superstar from South Africa. I've actually mentioned this guy on my social media so many times, not because I know him for a long time and we've worked together for a long time on big events, but because I've seen him in action. He is the king of impersonations. He is the king of spur of the moment, doing things on the spot. This guy can do anything, and he is here with us today. A radio DJ, a TV presenter, an actor, an MC of all. Today we are joined by Carl Wastie. Let's go.
Give me an air horn. Give me an air horn. Yes, baby.
Come on.
Yo, that intro is always great. Sorry, man. One thing that's bigger than the intro is behind you there is a television set. I want to find out if that is yours. Like does that belong to you? I just think, is it for the Catch Up Podcast? Is for you? Is that yours?
It happens to be my television.
Blake has an eye problem. Just letting you know. That's why it's big.
I don't know. This thing is like the IMAX in your house. If I had to have this in my house, you know that I wouldn't need to go to IMAX.
Yeah, I'm big on inspiration and big dreams. So I figured I need to get something to align with how big my dreams are, you know? When I'm filling my cup, it must be the size of the dreams.
I'm just saying there's going to be a lot of cropping if you're going to put this episode for me on that screen. I'm just letting you know. You might have to have a pop-in picture in the corner for me, and then you guys can be the big ones. This is crazy, huge. But yes, thank you. It's an honor to be on your Catch-Up podcast. I've been a fan of it for a while. Thank you for answering the emails. I've been asking to be on it. Sorry, if you don't know, I've been asking, Blake and Jay if I could be a part of the podcast because a lot of cool people have been on here. And I just thought maybe I could be a guest. And then they said, we'll squeeze me in. The thing is, Trevor Noah cancelled today. And then they allowed me in.
I'm going to have to hold my laugh in because I always tell you this, but I can't keep my laugh in the way that you tell jokes. And sometimes you make a joke. I don't know if you're telling a joke.
That's what we were saying earlier. I'm like, are you being serious about the aftershave?
But all jokes aside, bro, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah,
thank you for making time because we're now busy, you are, truly. And I must say, every time we reach out to you with a new idea or a new project,
yes,
you always say to us, guys, I love what you do. This is what I'm about. I'll be there, no problem. Yeah. And recently, you joined us not too long ago on a school tour called Best Foot Forward. And we learned through that school tour that you yourself were actually visiting schools out of your own, doing workshops and working. And we were like, connecting the dots. This is amazing. How was that school tour for you?
It's been a passion of mine. You know what happens to me? I get DMs from schools and teachers, and they would say, hey, my class is such a big fan of yours. Can you come and just chat to them? And I don't think they know what they are in for. Because usually they're thinking, Carl's funny on the radio. He's going to come and make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
But when I get there, I think it's important for me to share what the journey is. And the journey for me is very, very important than the end of the start. And I think that's why I love it. Because what happens is, in this day and age, think about what social media is doing to a lot of our young people.
Yeah.
I feel like social media may be a deterrent to creating emotionally intelligent individuals.
100%.
So when I walk into those classrooms, I'm trying to shatter instant gratification culture and dependence. And I'm trying to show them that there's a journey and there's mistakes and there's forgiveness of yourself. And there's also, and that's the thing. I think it's the progress that you make is more important than I need to get verified. I need to get a certain number of followers, and those types of things that I do in those classrooms are very important. And emotionally intelligent people, I think, is going to help shape the future of not only this country but the world. Because if you think about all the impulsive behavior that we have, especially in young people, it gets quite worrisome. And that's why if I can incite a little bit of change at one school, one classroom, one teacher's class, I think I'm doing my work. And this is why there was such a good synergy between us.
Yeah, bro, you are the definition of the long road. And I've said this many a times before. In life, there are no shortcuts. The shortcut is learning to take the long road really well. You are a long road type of person because you could easily pop in at the school, like you say, make a couple of jokes, get the recognition, and then be off.
Yeah.
Instead, what you do is you go there and you take that little time that you have. It could be 50 minutes in a period. But in that 50 minutes, you can change the way somebody thinks about themselves and about the world, which will last them a lifetime after that. You spark dreams in people. You talk real life scenarios. You allow them to go deeper because it's easy for us to have our head down and just giving us that temporary fulfillment, spiking the dopamine. All good. It's entertaining. But what are you doing for yourself? All that time spent, what are you doing for yourself? And you go wake them up to that, bro. So big ups. Yeah, I love it.
No, thank you so much for saying that. And it's right. Wake up is actually quite key. Because I think a lot of people do think that when you do this job, whether you be on TV or radio, that you've come from somewhere that like a stork dropped you into that position.
For sure.
And that like, oh, you're just one of the lucky ones that got through the industry type of thing. But you have to actually slow them down and say, hold on, there's a real story. And that's why the depth is important.
Yeah.
I think when you walk into those classrooms or those assemblies, you got to have a purpose in mind.
Yeah.
You can't walk in there and say, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
You cannot do that with these kids. And more importantly, you kind of have to speak in a language that is very, very, I'm going to say relatable, because the thing is, I'm a 37-year-old man. I'm not going to be able to understand the plights of a 16-year-old in 2024.
Yeah.
But what I will do is find the touch points that create commonality, and then you work with that, because those are the portals to create bridges between generations and generational understanding. So you have to use those touch points, but you have to pay attention to be there. You can't just go, everybody, just don't give up and go to class and don't do tracks. Bye. You cannot do that. You can't tell those, you can't have those.
Some people do that, though.
I know. That's what I'm very well aware that they walk in there and they're like, they have that platform, and then they think that it's like the end of a Miss Universe pageant. And then world peace, bye. You can't do that. Like, I think you need to really understand your language.
Yeah.
And the language and the way you dialogue with this generation is very important.
1000%.
And it takes a lot of concentration. You cannot be self-indulgent when you're having a motivational talk. And when you're dealing with anybody in this particular generation, just make sure that you don't treat them like they're dumb. They're not dumb.
Yeah.
Can I tell you, there are people who are 12 years old, 8 years old, getting more information than a university classroom will give you. That's from TikTok. So let's be honest. There is a different consumption of information and a different consumption culture. If you don't pay attention to consumption culture in the young people, then you are going to be a drop in their ocean, and you're not going to make a little bit of a wave of impact.
Yeah. At the end of the day, teachers of today have a very tough job,
Big time.
because at the end of the day, a social media video is 15 seconds on average, maybe even 10 sometimes. And a classroom session is 50 minutes listening to the same person teaching in the same tone of voice.
Monotone,
But it's like it doesn't add up. So what do we need to do? We need to adapt to the change. We need to understand what that is. And like you're saying now is, how do you find that commonality? How do you find the points that gets your message across in a way that they will receive it?
Yes.
That's the more important part. But also you coming from a space of not just having worked extremely hard, worked with a lot of people. I always commend you on the way that you handle yourself with fans and people. Whenever I go to a mall with Carl and we're doing an activation, it's like people literally come from doing whatever it is and they will line up just to take a picture with him. And I know your energy also must at some point maybe not be at its best for a day. But the way you handle people and respect people and bring light to them, I commend you on that. Then also, you are a qualified psychologist. You studied psychology.
I studied psychology. I wouldn't say qualified. I wasn't able to kind of like go all the way through to actually get my business number to actually be a qualified psychologist.
Okay.
However, I did indeed study psychology.
Okay.
And that was a game changer in understanding humans.
Yeah.
And I think that was very important, because I always knew that my job would be a human dependent job. What I mean by that is that I know that people would always be involved. I wouldn't be a guy sitting at a desk and having an Excel spreadsheet in front of me. I knew I'd be front facing.
Yeah.
And that's why psychology taught me so much about, emotional intelligence, reading the room, understanding people's behavior and also not responding to every bit of, I'm going to say, negative stimulus that you are confronted with. I think the thing about a lot of the people that you interact with now, there's this culture of people wanting to respond because they want to show who they are.
Yeah.
And that's called ego, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that's why I needed to get a better understanding of people. And psychology was a great course, went through it. But then getting into this industry, it was like it was preordained. There was a higher power delivering me into the entertainment industry, but more importantly, it was for a purpose.
Yeah.
And that was to help people understand the context that they're in and their emotions and the way they receive the world. Also, the way they have the power to reframe their world.
Yeah.
So doing this with a bit of a psychology backing has been a revelation. I mean, on my radio show, on a Monday, I do something called psychology, which is where I get to use my studies and my name in the same space. But the thing is, it's about people just talking. I don't think people have a forum like a podcast to share that they're going through a bad day every single day. So the whole idea is to create little micro cultures in people for them to say, I heard something cool on the radio today and they were talking about what type of bad day they had. And I also had a bad day. Suddenly when somebody admits that and is not stuck in denial, they have that platform to share what they feel.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful
That's
that you can
powerful,
offer that?
bro.
And that's why a platform, I love that one. Thank you. But that's the power I think that anybody with a platform has, is that you do get to influence behavior.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you have good purpose behind what you are influencing. And that's why with the psychology backing, I always knew human behavior was going to be a big part of my life. And I get a chance to influence that in the most positive way possible, while also respecting what is a great power on those platforms, TV, radio, wherever it is. I mean, now people wield the power on social media and they don't need to be on any traditional platforms like media platforms. So I just think that perhaps everybody should take a note from the psychology book when you are dealing with your platforms and actually start thinking about who is listening and not what it's in for you.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're lacking on those platforms, is that you hear people all the time saying like, this is, hey guys, let me just tell you something that's going to be completely standoffish, but it's going to cause a stir and I want to go viral. So I'm going to use this platform to make sure that I go viral. As opposed to, there could be a 14-year-old girl listening to me on this live. Let me be respectful with my language, my vocabulary. Let me make sure that if I am going to incite change in anybody, that I leave them with something. So it could be for a small video or something to that effect. But I think if you're doing this for a living, if you're going to be on a social media platform and an influencer or a content creator or content collaborator as for a living, take a note out of psychology book and know that you can, incite change and you can influence behavior.
Yeah.
Just make sure the behavior you are influencing moves its way to positivity as opposed to anything negative.
But I think what Carl's saying now is what we've been actually saying in a sense. We've been saying this recently at schools. We've been telling kids that we need to move back towards having respect for one another. We've lost that ability. And I think not only for professional people, for humans.
Yeah.
Human beings, no matter what content you're putting out there, no matter how you're living, who's around you when you're making certain choices or speaking a certain way. You could be on the phone to your friend. There's a 13-year-old girl walking past and you saying F this, F that. How are you impacting her? We've actually moved to a place where a lot of human beings don't give a rat's ass.
Yes.
As long as they feel okay, we've moved towards the ego and selfishness. And that's why I think we've got so many problems in our society at the moment.
I think that's it. Yeah, is being selfish versus being selfless. You add value. You focus on what value you can add to the world, because we have it in our control. We can bring darkness or we can bring light. And that light, like Maya Angelou says, when you let your light shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. It's one of my favorites. I always love by that. And you focus on what light you can bring, because you could yourself take shortcuts if you wanted to. You could use all the cheat codes in the social media book and you could go the quick route. But instead, your plans that you have, your shows that you have, your concepts that you come up with has real meaning behind it. And it's, how can I change people's days, their smiles on their faces, their ways of thinking about themselves, but just giving them a chance to have a platform to talk and bring a productive approach to this, a more positive mindset to this. But also, bro, for you to have created this, we know that it didn't just happen. Like you say, some people can call you lucky. They see you in a position, they're like, you got that by chance. You worked your way to get here. But what was that like, that journey to get here? Let's take it back to school. Carl Wastie is at high school. You went to Pinelands High School, correct?
I did.
Pinelands High, shout out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Matriculated from Pinelands High. And then I believe after that, you actually took a gap year.
I did.
Can we start there?
Yeah, of course, you can go back to the gap year. So first and foremost, in my grade 12 year, my matric year, it was a very tough year. My parents got divorced in that year. And I think that was when things really shifted in me, because you could feel that something was happening at home, especially around my mathematics mark. And I knew that I needed mathematics to get into university, to study psychology. Yeah. I knew that. But June exams come around and I got 33% for mathematics. That's definitely not a pass in terms of university pass. It's at the time, funny enough, 33 was a pass.
Yeah, 33 and a third, I
Yes.
think. Yeah.
I was like, what? I passed. But still, it was not a good showing of what my intention was, okay, and what I wanted to do. So from then, when my parents got divorced, there was obviously a bit of bitterness between them. Bless them both. I love them both. People don't have the book on responding to events like that. So naturally, my dad went one way, my mom stayed, and I had to be the breadwinner of the family. And also my bro, he was... he had a student loan. He was studying architecture. He had to do his own thing. Yep. And eventually my mom couldn't look after all of us, which means my older bro had to, bite the bullet and go do his own thing. And he had to, because he was studying. And so he went to go and move out. He started making these lamps and selling them in markets to ensure that his fees were paid. So that man is also one of the hardest workers that I know, my older brother. But unfortunately, it left me alone with my younger brother and my mom. And that's when things were really tough for me and why I decided to take a gap year. And it was a year where, and I think this is quite important, when people think about the journey, remember, I didn't start the journey thinking, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put myself in uncomfortable situations and be really, really gritty and work myself to the bone in order to get to radio and TV and be very successful. Just remember that that's not necessarily your intention in these moments. Because I think me thinking about that already would also be, I'm going to say, a byproduct of needing instant gratification. That was not my intention. I wanted to get through that day. That is the most important thing. It wasn't about, where I'm going to go one day. It was about, what is my thinking today? My thinking today might be, how the hell am I going to do this? My thinking the next day will be, I got this. Then my thinking the day after would be like, I don't know if I can do this. Then the thinking the day after would be, I got this. So remember, there were ebbs and flows in my emotional state at the time. I was still figuring things out.
For sure.
But the more important thing to also note is that I was moving forward. I wouldn't stop the day I said, how am I going to do this? I'd wake up the next day and say, I got this. So remember that's quite important to note.
Self-talk, Blake?
Yeah, it's quite important to note. I think a lot of people believe that there's a gift where you have one moment of clarity and then you start pushing and then you become successful. You are going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to doubt yourself. And that's all the things that happened to me in my gap year. And this is why I worked so many jobs. I worked so many jobs because I had to be the breadwinner. My brother was doing his thing, trying to get through university himself to study architecture. And then obviously I had a younger brother that was in primary school and I have to look after everybody. So that was the challenge. And my mom was also very much a traditional housewife, didn't have a matric, couldn't get a job very easily, got a couple of temp jobs here and there, but they weren't sustainable, which means I had to find some sort of way of creating consistency and money flow in that household.
What jobs were you doing at that point?
There were so many. Shoo. You know those guys that are very irritating in the malls that ask you to taste the yogurt?
Yeah.
That was me.
Okay.
Then there was I'm sure you know those guys that sat in the video shop and they just kind of looked like they knew all about movies.
Yeah.
That was me. There were guys who sold UPSs, which was way before load shedding. That was me. There were guys that wanted to impart their knowledge in sport, like water polo and football. That was me. There were people who, surveys. That was me. People who need to hand out pamphlets. That was me. Paperweight Bayside. That was me.
Waitering?
I didn't do waitering. No, I didn't. I was Chico the Clown as my first job ever, just to let you know. But I didn't get into waitering because I think that waitering was shift work.
Okay.
And I had a shift already at the video shop that I was working in. And the video shop, I remember it was a very small pay pucky at the end of the week, so I had to make a plan. But I was working there in very, very long shifts. And between those shifts, I would try slot in some other things. And there'd be days during the week, so Monday to Friday, where I got the more consistent job where I worked at my best friend's father's company, and he was selling UPSs and generators. And that's what I did. I was a salesperson in that space and sending invoices and trying to sell these things and business development and that sort of thing. I was just trying my best. But then I didn't have a car, which means I would walk my way from Pinelands to Thornton, where I lived, in order to do my shift at the video shop that would go till about 10 p.m. at night. And then I'd go to sleep and then rotate again. But then I would get let off for practice days to coach water polo and football from my other job. Which, so basically I would ask him, hey, can I go a little early today? Because they would train at about 4 p.m. for the high school football and water polo. And that's what I used to do. So
make it all work.
I had to slot in everything to make this work. And then on the weekends, there wouldn't be a chill on the weekends. It would be video shop and it would be promotions on a Sunday. I just didn't feel like any bit of my time was going to be wasted. I had an opportunity to use myself in a way that I could make a change in my own household. And I tried my best. And I tried to bring some money to the table.
At that time, sorry, Jared,
cool.
at that time, also, like you said now, you're doing so much just to bring home the bread, just to make sure you guys are eating food and the lights is on. And like, at that time, it's difficult to dream. It's difficult to even think bigger than that, because where must you get the time or the money to even like invest in a new opportunity or a new chance? So I just want to ask you, when did it click, or when was the opportunity to start what you're doing now? How was that crossover period?
The crossover happens whenever you make a decision about your life. I think that's the thing. So I remember that if I got a pay pucky from my video shop, okay, at the end of the week, I remember they used to give me that sort of see-through money bag, and there was a little slip in the hours that I worked that week, and there would be a little calculation of like the rate per hour, which I believe was, I think it was 6 Rand at the time. I'm serious, it was 6 Rand by like 5 hours for a day, and then you calculate that over 5 days, and that would be your end of week pay bucky. Even something as small as that. That actually allowed me in that moment to dream a bit. Because although it was a very, very small amount of money, it didn't matter, because the money was received and the work was compensated for. And suddenly there was a huge amount of understanding of what the task was. And I was like, okay, fine, a pay pucky. You know, you do a promotion and then they give you a little brown envelope and you're like, hey, in here are, 200 Rand notes. That's something. So when you say I wasn't able to dream, I think your dreams change. My dream in that week was to make sure that we eat.
Sure.
That's a dream. My dream is to make sure that the units don't go out by the time my brother goes to school. So remember that those things can also be dreams. What I'm saying is that maybe we should not be focused too much about what the big dreaming culture is. Maybe we should start dreaming smaller to build the bigger dream. Because what you see, the thing is, if we start that culture now, I'm not going to look at somebody else and say, but they got the fancy car, but you got through your day and you're not even recognizing that.
Yeah, but we spoke about this. We said 1 win a day. What was that?
Yes, in a resilient person, a trait of a resilient person is to have realistic expectations. And by that way of thinking and living is you count the small wins throughout your day. So instead of you comparing yourself to a bodybuilder that's doing so amount of reps and you just getting into exercising for the first time, how can you compare yourself to that person? You're only setting yourself up for disaster. Why don't you, for the first time, get on the ground and do 10 push-ups because you didn't do that yesterday? That's a win. That's a realistic expectation. So just like you say now, bro, is sometimes your dreams is demotivating you because it's unrealistic based on where you are. Look at your season.
And that's how when you say the crossover, it wasn't a crossover because each time I got a bit further, I could dream further, which means my dreams were always held within my context.
For sure.
Which means that the limits or the highest point in my context, when that was met, I could go further. So let's not forget that. And I think this is It's so important in terms of the daily life. If you look at somebody and they've got more resources than you have,
Yeah.
why are you still thinking about your life in their shoes?
For sure.
Yeah.
I was struggling. I know I was. I could tell because a lot of people were already at university. They were like, oh, Wastie come party. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was working for my family.
Yeah.
That was my context. That was where I was. Those were my parameters.
Yeah.
But for 1 second, they were not walls. They were just my parameters in which to work.
Sure.
And once the work was done within those parameters, guess what? They grew.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got, at the end of that year, that's when things started changing. When a video shop customer walked in and said, why the hell is a 17-year-old boy working so hard where I can see all the 17-year-olds, they were outside in this area smoking weed and doing drugs and Well, why are you here? What's the difference, Carl, between you and them? I don't understand. And I just said, like, well, I'm working for my family and I want to study next year, so I don't have time for those things. She looked at me and she's like, oh my word. And that particular woman is the woman who gave me my bursary
Sure.
to study
Yeah.
because she worked for the city of Cape Town. I didn't know her. She was a video shop customer. But the fact that she probed this concept, like, why am I working so hard? And maybe in that is another little lesson, is that you are working your butt off right now. And I know you are. But just remember that you have no idea who's watching. You have no idea who is needing you to work that hard for inspiration or is needing you to work that hard to say, I want somebody like this on my team. They are watching you and your consistency. And the thing is, in your own space, it's hard to keep it up. It really is hard to keep the consistency going, hard to stay motivated. But the more you push, I'm telling you now, you have no idea who is watching.
Yeah.
And I think for those particular moments, that moment for me was magical because I didn't know that you worked for the city of Cape Town. I didn't know they had a bursary program that could actually accommodate psychology.
Yeah.
And when I told her that I wanted to study, psychology and organizational psychology at the University of Cape Town, and I looked at the prospectus that I knew I would never be able to afford, but I kind of knew that I could get a student loan. And when I wanted to get a student loan, that's when my parents got divorced and my father couldn't stand surety for the student loan. That kind of reshaped my trajectory.
Yeah.
But it didn't reshape where I wanted to be. I knew I was going to study. And when I shared that with her, she was the woman. She's just an incredible woman that just sent over a piece of paper. I remember her name is Auntie Lydia, by the way. She is fantastic and also just a woman that I'll never forget, who is always part of my life. And she slid over a piece of paper. I did the bursary application form, wrote a cover letter. She still asked me, so look here, do you have a computer? I'm like, I got a computer here at the desk. I don't have a computer at home. She's like, okay, what time you finish? 9 p.m. Come to my house afterwards. Come write a cover letter. And I remember that cover letter, what I wrote as well. I wrote in the cover letter that many people who are sitting here wouldn't have no idea what to say. And I am one of those people, but what I will say is that when somebody asks for help, it's not weak, it's strong. Because if you're asking for help, it means that you want to make a change for the better.
Yeah.
You just need some resources to help out. And anybody who's willing to go out there and take on those moments of vulnerability, those people are strong.
Yeah.
And I just submitted that. The next thing you know, about a month later, she walks back to the video shop very casually looking for, I don't know, it was like a movie, like Minority Report or something, I don't know. And she says to me, oh yeah, you're top of the list now? Like, sorry, what? You're top of the list of what? Oh, the bursaries, man. I was like, okay. And I kind of ignored that.
Didn't click.
No. And then a week later, she asked me if I had a suit. I'm like, I don't have a suit. She's like, okay, fine. Tell you what, I'm going to give you money to go hire a suit. I'm like, why don't you need a suit? She's like, no, you need to go say thank you. I'm like, why don't you just say thank you? She's like, well, because the city of Cape Town is giving you a bursary to study.
So,
Boom.
And boom, I was measuring up for a suit to go to the city hall to go say thank you for a bursary to study psychology and organizational psychology
Amazing.
at the University of Cape Town, who obviously is, unfortunately infamous for the amount of money they need for their education. And I got a chance to study there, and I got a chance. And I think another little thing in terms of the universe, at that, I remember the bursary ceremony. I was there on stage and they wrote me a speech. I couldn't do it by myself. And I just, I wasn't allowed to. I had so many things to say, but they just wrote me. And I'm like, on behalf of the bursary, I had to do that. But then I kind of freestyled in the middle, and you can tell that the people who were coordinating, they're like, He's going off script, which became a big part of my life growing up. I'd never really on script. I won't lie to you, but that moment is great because the MC was a radio DJ. Ha! It was a radio DJ.
I was trying to get this question. Okay, so we're going there. Nice.
So the MC was Aidan Thomas.
Oh, nice.
Who works at Heart Breakfast. I remember he was the MC for the bursary ceremony. And I remember, and he won't remember this because he probably did a lot of gigs at the time, but I remember him saying, sure, what a great speech. I wouldn't be surprised if that man ends up in radio. That's what he said. I'm just saying, prior to this whole thing happening,
Wow.
I was like, oh, thanks, Aidan. Appreciate you, homie. But I didn't know that I was going to do that. All I knew is that I was at the end of that same year was also the time where I was approached to be an MC at Grand West Casino. That's how I got comfortable behind a microphone. I was that MC that literally told the single ladies to put their hands up. I was that guy, the DJ. As the drop comes in. That little bit of ad lib that you add, I was that guy. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. But we all have to start somewhere. But I was that person. Also, I did the bar shows at Jackson Hall. So they used to have dancers on the bar, and I used to be the person to start things off and give away bottles of Love Potion 69. But yeah, that was my history, and I'm not gonna turn away from it. But that's where the comfort behind the microphone came from, and I continue doing that throughout my course, which is wonderful.
I got to ask a question. This is a little bit off topic.
No, please do.
Was the mohawk there when you were born?
Yeah, it probably was. I think every baby, when they grow hair, they lay on their sides, right?
Yeah.
So there's actually a little fluffy mohawk that gets developed. But no, this is sure. Can I tell you?
Yeah, tell us a story. How did that come about?
Oh my word! Sure, it's a crazy one. But 30 Seconds to Mars, their lead singer Jared Leto had a pink mohawk in the video "Closer to the Edge," which inspired this entire thing. And Closer to the Edge was a song about how society pushes youth over the edge. It was also a time where my younger brother got into some really bad drug abuse. Okay. And I was going through it because I was trying to both start a career that I've never dreamed of, or just radio, and also sort out that sort of part of my life that nobody really knew about. And that's where that little homage came from. And I just thought, this is flipping, awesome. I love Jared Leto. And I love what he stands for, and I love that song, Closer to the Edge, which is great. So I did this little thing, and it started off very, all due respect, very landing strip. And then it started to, fluff up a little bit. It become, no, trust me, in the start of it, I'm so
sorry. Which was
sorry.
when? What year?
Sure, this was like,
when was the birth of the mohawk?
2009 was like the birth of the mohawk.
Okay,
like
2009, okay.
Yeah, it was all the way back then. But I recall, man, there was this... I did some weird functions, and this one woman comes to me and she looks at this like line tuft on my head and she goes, "Oh, we got the same haircut." So I'm like, "What do you?" Oh. so anyway, that's where.
Wait, no, that one.
Yes, that was the moment there. So that was interesting. But then I just stuck with it, and I colored it all sorts of different things, and it's just it's like the fun that I can have while I still have, a bit of hair to play with.
Okay.
And I think that's what I like about it, is that a lot of people would judge me for it.
Oh, seriously?
Oh, yes. The older generation, man. They look at it, they're like, oh, who's this attention seeker? Who's this punk? What are you trying to do? Why don't you have a decent haircut? And that's the problem with people. I think people will always understand the world within their own understanding of what's right and what's wrong, and
narrow-minded. Narrow-minded people. But
it's okay. But bless them for that. They are allowed to have their opinions. It's great, and I love the fact that they can share those. Because remember that even on the Catch Up podcast, powered by Crocs, you're going to get a comment under one of your videos, and the comment's going to be negative. And I want both of you to know this, right? That negative comment, a lot like what I'll get for my hair or anything I say on radio or TV, whatever that may be. But just remember that negative comment that you get, I don't want you to delete it per se, unless there's expletives and people are offended by it or any sort of hate speech or racism. But if people are like, oh, this sucks, you guys are wasting your time, okay? I want you to remember that person took at least 2 minutes of their time to craft that comment and to post it below your video, which means that person spent time and also deemed you important enough to respond to, which means you need to thank them, not for their comment, but for their time. Because they will never get that time back.
Yeah.
No matter how positive or negative their comment was,
Yeah.
thank them for their time. That is how you respond to those negative comments, so to speak.
And it just means that your work is being recognized, because
Yes.
your work is not going to be recognized positively all the time.
Nope.
If we all know life, let's just be real about it. As long as your work is being recognized, because I would rather have that hate comment than have no comments at all.
Yeah.
No likes at all, no shares at all.
Yes.
Because that really means you must go back to the drawing board. You need to bring something better. But if people disagree with it, so what? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Definitely.
And you know what I will say about your hair is, people don't understand this. Marketing is important. You've created a trademark.
Yeah.
Look also is, in the work that we do, bro, not everybody knows Carl, the human being. But they know Carl Wastie on radio that they listen to every day. It brings them light into the world. And they know when you're in a mall and they see that's Carl. I know that's Carl. And they go take the picture. It's an experience also. So it goes a long way, because it builds that other Carl Wastie icon figure, the role model figure, the Carl that brings light to our world. And that's what I love also is, you're creative with it. You know who you are. You know what your identity is. You know what makes you feel good, and you go with it. And look what it does for other people.
And that's very true. Also, I mean, okay, another honest bit though. There was a theme park, Ratanga Junction, and there was a cobra, and I wasn't tall enough to ride. So when I got my hair up, I actually met the level, and I could ride the cobra. So I'm just gonna let you know that.
I don't know if that's a joke now. Or that's true. You see, that's what he does all the time.
It is great though. And then finally I got to ride the roller coaster of my dreams. Thank you, Ratanga Junction. As you said, rest in peace.
Shout out, yeah.
The Moog worked out.
It worked out, especially for those theme parks. It's like 1.5 meters is their limitation.
Does it change in length though? I don't know.
No, I'll cut it and it'll grow. I like keeping it short. You know what I'm saying? Because when I was younger, it was like high. But I gave it a color, man. I gave it all sorts of colors. But I realized that I damaged my hair like so badly. Can I tell you the bleach? The worst part was on Espresso once. They were trying to color my hair, and this woman could not get the color right. And I told her, don't use strong bleach. Can I tell you that week when she got it right at the end of the show, my hair was yellow for a sponsor of some sort. She had burnt a strip of like bloodshot skin because she used like the most intense bleach possible on my, like honestly, my scalp was burning for a week. It was so bad. There was
Blake knows about that.
Inflammation on my forehead.
Blake knows.
It was like a chemical response that my body couldn't handle. It was crazy.
Blake knows.
But yeah, and trust me, I'm very aware of the marketing side of things, but I guarantee you it's actually just about, as you said, it's just about me having a bit of fun. I think everybody has a chance to have a bit of fun, whether it be with your clothing or maybe you got piercings, maybe you got tats, whatever. I've got this thing and it's like I'm having some fun until one day when I shave it all off and I look like Vin Diesel. That's, you never know.
And you're ready to stop riding the Cobra.
Yeah, that's
the tongue is gone.
That's good. No, that's fine.
Rest in peace, the Tango Junction.
Ride bikes from then, you know what I mean? Grow like a proper goatee and just start talking about family. That could work nicely. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much the aesthetic of the things. But purpose still drives me. It's not really aesthetic.
Another favorite thing about you is your impersonations and how quick you are. And it started with your being comfortable behind the mic, like you said, and that then turned into so many things. And I recognize the pattern. You worked many jobs and you took on different characters. Because let's be honest, if you're coaching in water polo, for example, you need to be a certain person. When you're working at the video shop, you're a different person over there. So you took different shapes and forms where you needed to be someone and to get the job done. And that's why you are so multi-talented, that's why you can do the emceeing, radio DJ, this and that, and all over the place. That's what gave birth to it. At the end of the day, you're adaptable. And you look at what the mission is and what's needed to accomplish the mission without getting stuck in, I'm only an MC. How am I going to do this? This is different. This is not my world. I shouldn't be here. I don't belong here. Yeah. You go, wait a minute. I know I have skill. I know I'm willing to try. I know that I'm talented and I know I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to have fun with it. That's enough. That's enough. Because like my definition of success is 90% of success is just showing up to try. The other 10% is what you do when you get there.
That's so true. And I do know that I've gathered these skills. And I think the important message there is Don't be afraid of the simple job. Please don't be afraid of it. Like, I think a lot of people shy away from their simple jobs. They are watching this and they know they work as a cashier at one of these retailers.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you may not have yet understood the importance of being a cashier,
Sure.
or the amount of people that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Difficult people.
But also multiple personalities, and you have to have that same thing, smart shopper, whatever you're going to do, rewards card, whatever,
Yeah.
and you interacting all the time, and you're getting it authorized and whatever. I don't think you should see any job as a small job, because if you do, then I would not have gained the amount of access to personalities and human beings as I did when I started out. I wouldn't have been able to do anything,
Yeah.
because I wasn't just like, I'm a video shop guy, I'm not going to take the pamphlet job. I'm a pamphlet guy, I'm not going to take the UPS job.
Yeah.
I'm a UPS guy, I'm not going to take... I wasn't like that. I just was open
Yeah.
to what these things could do for me. And I think that's the most important thing in all of the events in your life, whether they be the jobs or the occurrences. I want you to know that things don't happen to you.
Yeah.
They happen for you.
Sure.
And that's why those things happen for me.
Yeah.
Because I could be in a video shop and watch all those movies. And then suddenly I understood that it wasn't about what I would do, but also it was about like understanding the nuances of basically everything that I could see. Because it's very strange to understand when you watch a movie for you to really interpret exactly what they are doing. So it's different for anybody to see that you are a different person. So it's okay. But you have to understand that the people here aspire lekker om die beste hoor in die stem van die mense. Die lere is so lekker. So you have to understand that. Open yourself up.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Every sorts of thing that you can do in terms of your experiences, because those experiences, whether it be a bad situation, a taxi cutting you off, a video shop job, a cashier job, a demotion at work, whatever that may be, remember these things are happening for you and not to you.
Yeah.
It's your job and your privilege to find out why.
Yeah. And I think for you, Carl, I think you just live with so much courage. And I think you live in the moment. I think you give yourself a lot of freedom to express yourself, and you're not afraid to make mistakes, and you take the pressure off yourself in a sense. And I think that's what allows you to explore different avenues within yourself, and that's what has allowed you to become who you are today. And I think something that you said now was so profound for me, because I think the next time I go to a shop, I'm going to say to the person there, I appreciate you.
Please.
Something just dropped in me now. I'm like, yo.
Yeah, I was also picking up on that is we need to stop minimizing our blessings. Stop minimizing the gifts that you have, because that is actually what got you where you are today.
Yeah.
Is by appreciating just what you have and turning it into a giant. Every time we're together, you come in the room and you're not shy to make a joke about being short.
Yeah.
People can throw it your way, but then I always say, I think I've repeated like 1,000 times already. I always say, but Carl, you're the giant in this room.
Yeah.
And that's what you do, bro.
Truth.
You take something that the world's giving you, if they say you're short, if they whatever, but your personality shines so big that when Carl Wastie is in this room, everyone is you might be the shortest person in the room, but you got the biggest personality in the room, the biggest light shining in the room. And it comes back to being courageous at the end of the day is go out there with a full heart, wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do, be present, and give it your everything, man. You
Thank
only
you.
have one life, bro. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. And I think it also touches on the fact that bullies in this world, and this is why our school tours are so important, but I think if we get to reframe what the world is giving us and why things are happening for us, we also get to stumble on the fact that bullies throughout the entire existence have not crushed anybody. They have only pointed out your unique selling points. Think about that for a second.
Sure.
There's nobody like me. Why am I different? Speak to a bully. Oh, you got the bushy eyebrows. Thank you. You're short. Thank you so much for noticing. Thanks for taking the time
Flip the script,
to
bruh.
point
No
out.
comeback.
Thanks so much for the time to point out a unique selling point. Clearly, you've been paying attention. I appreciate you. That's so nice of you.
Yeah.
You pointed out how big I was, how skinny I was, how short I was, the crooked my teeth is, how crooked my nose is, the weirdness of my eyes, my big ears, my big forehead, my whatever that may be. Thank you for taking the time once again to notice. That is very kind of you for pointing out a unique selling point that nobody else has in this room. And you, my dear bully, have pointed it out for most of these people to see. I thank you so much. That is very kind. Think about a world where you can have those interpretations, and then you understand where the center of my courage is, if you want to call it that. And I do believe that everybody has the potential to realize that courage in anything they do.
For sure.
If you are someone editing this video and you are doubting yourself with regard to whatever's happening, it's about you are giving your unique spin on this edit. This is you. You're not being a lazy person. This is you saying, this is my version and this is what I produce. I'm not going to produce what the other Alex down the road produces. I'm going to produce my unique Alex in this edit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important, is that perhaps it's not courage, but it's an awareness of your place on this planet.
Yeah.
You are unique for a reason. Otherwise, there'd be a duplicate of you.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no duplicates of us. Why is that? Have you ever thought, why is there nobody like me on this planet? Yet so many people want to be like other people.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's profound. It's been the existential crisis of any human being.
Yeah.
You know, they always want to be the other person because the other person sees in their ideology that they are successful. But let's just say you change that and you say, oh my word, if there are no duplicates, it means that I almost have a responsibility to be as me as I can for the benefit of whatever that eventual purpose is that I find through the journey of life. Why not? I'm going to be the shortest guy in the room all the time, unless somebody shorter comes along.
Yeah.
In that case, it would be a 4-year-old, and I'd chat to them accordingly.
I like that you turned into a practical tool also.
That's
because
great.
it is very, very easy to speak about something, but not leave people with anything. And you saying you able to channel through having gone through it so many times. You've learned to channel it and turn it into, how can I make this a positive thing? How can I just open my eyes a little bit more? Instead of taking it for what I think it is, what's actually happening here? Oh, you work for me. You actually part of my marketing team for free. Because you going around talking about me, noticing me, you paying so much attention to me. Why? Why do I bother you so much?
Yeah.
Why am I on your mind? Every day you come to school, your whole school career, I was here doing my work, but you were focusing on me.
That's correct.
That's what the bully's doing at the end of the day. And that actually gives you power. It makes you realize how special you are. And then when you start using that, it's almost as if you turn into rubber. Because then the usual comments, you know, it's not your identity. It's not truly who you are.
Yeah.
They're just trying their luck, bro. And when you take that power away from them, they have nothing left. Because the truth is, what the bully's calling you out on is actually a reflection of what they're struggling with internally.
That's true as well. I think that bullies struggle with value, and they believe that, remember, the bully is not actually in it for the actual offensive comment.
Yeah.
They're in it for the response that the offensive comment will get.
Yeah.
And anybody who's looking for a response from the world is somebody who innately, unfortunately, doesn't have a value system
100%.
and a little bit of an engine room for their own value. This is why at our school visits, putting our best foot forward, I think it was important for me to note, and I said this at one of our visits, is that a lot of people who are focusing on social media and the traction and how valid you are based on the numbers, and why are people not coming to me for promotions, and I'm seeing my friends who have, 50K followers getting X, I'm on 10 or I'm on 500 followers. They are scaling their value on that, and that is just, unfortunately, it's not the screen that matters. The mirror is the screen that matters. You focus on that. It's your unique selling points. It's the value and the love you have, for yourself, and also be in your own company. Understand who you are a little bit more, because I think that when you start writing down the things that you actually are into and you like, I'm just going to say on a perceptive level, you're going to look at that piece of paper or that little note on your phone or on your laptop, and you write these things that you like down. And then if you actually think about it, are you liking them for you, or are you liking them because people like them? And I think that little analysis is important for all of us humans. Like, are you really into X and Y and Z? Are you really into that? And then you start realizing, hold on, but I'm into that because in my industry, everybody likes X.
Yeah.
This is why, not Twitter, but you know what I mean, as in the X, the undetermined value. So I think it's important for us to focus on the mirror. And it's a very tough task. And people wonder, like, what are you talking about? I look at myself in the mirror and I'm looking at myself back. What does that actually mean? It simply means that uniqueness that I spoke of, that individual that you see back at you that cannot be duplicated.
Yeah.
Is there not an adventure to be had in understanding what that person's all about and having a jaw with who you are and all of your quirks, interesting bits?
1000%.
There's so much in you that you can see and find. I haven't finished my journey. I'm never going to, because there's always something new I find out about myself with every new experience that I come across and every human that I interact with.
Yeah.
And this is probably why I love what I do, because I just get to learn more and more.
I'm going to call you Dr. Carl on this episode because I know you have too many titles already, but Dr. Carl, because I think that you bring a sense of healing in a different way.
Yeah.
You don't need to provide medication for somebody. Instead, you change the way of thinking to fill that emptiness.
Yeah.
Because that is actually what you're speaking about today.
Yeah.
Is when you can change the thinking of what is actually hurting you or killing you inside, you can actually uplift yourself and rebirth that person that's full of potential, that's just waiting for you to come around by the way that you think about yourself, by the way that you look at the world. So I'm calling you Dr. Carl on this episode, bro. And I just want to thank you so much for your time. I wish we could keep you here for hours more. Before we close off, I have one question for you. Being in the industry, having watched you grow so much, like you always chosen first for all the big events, and what is next for you on your heart and in your mind, because you've already accomplished so much? What is a goal that you yourself have at the moment that you're looking forward to?
Well, I wanted to be on the Catch Up podcast, so I'm gonna
Tick that off now.
tick that off. That's cool. So that was one. It was big on my vision board. Thank goodness. And then thank you so much. Thanks, Crocs. Okay, but I think that in my particular role, I'm so grateful for these positions that I have, that I love. But I would always look at TV. I love game shows. I love creating games. Like on my show, I got something called the Flash Word, which is a game that I created. And I would love to see those lifted into not only board games. So I would love to create board games because I love anything that connects people in that way. Even though I know that 30 seconds separates people, especially when they shout, "Die!" I know, okay? It's those people that are terrible. I'm sitting, if you shout time like that and I still see 2 grains of sand, I will not talk to you. I know who you are. Time! There's still a grain left. And the answer is the Eiffel Tower. Anyway, sorry. As you can see, I'm passionate about board games. So I would love to create a board game from Carl Wastie. I would love to also expand on my cooking side of things. So I'd love to create my official Bougie Braai series, which is something that I do at my home. I love bougie braais. So I love a normal braai, but I like to elevate it with a couple of different things, either experimenting with proteins or plating or different sauces. Like that's my thing.
Cool, eh?
So I love elevating the experience. I mean, yes, I can put a buck in front of you. If you guys come over, chances are I'm going to put a buck in front of you. But the thing is, I'm going to give you plates and I'll ask, can I plate up? And you'll be like, what do you mean plate up? I then have a paper plate here, Carl. I'm like, wait, give me a second. And then I can go grab the plates from the cupboard. And then I can plate a beautiful, lamb ribbicky that I obviously pre-pressure cooked. And then I made some Asian jus that I coated over it, and I basted it repeatedly to make almost a crust around it that I can now, put on top a beautiful Asian mash that I have mixed through with some wasabi and chopped chives. And then that could be a meal for you. And you're like, this is a braai. And I'm like, I know, but I care about you. So I made it a bougie braai. So I want that brand to go somewhere with products and maybe even a bit of a show. Other than board games, a TV show would be fantastic. I know I'm on a TV show, Espresso, but I think it's important to expand a bit more.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have told me that I should do something that would be more TV show-esque. Even in a world where people consume media a bit differently, I think that it would be cool to have a hybrid TV show that bridges the boundaries between your phone and your TV.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that would be fantastic to have as well as another goal. And a couple of smaller things. I would love to complete psychology. I would love to actually have that completed as a cycle. And then just in terms of impact as well. I would love to be in a role, let's just say long after media, but I'd love to be in a role that affects media and helps media become a responsible platform in this country, and also help young media professionals develop in a way that promotes an emotionally intelligent professional in the broadcasting industry, and also an individual that's also protected, because there's a lot of freelancer protections that we don't have in this industry.
Wow.
And it'll be nice to work with bigger insurance companies to make people feel a bit more secure within their roles. So people can continue podcasting and people can continue doing their thing, but I think it'll be nice for them to have a platform and a resource for them to be educated and also looked after on a financial level that could make people in the entertainment industry less anxious about the longevity and more focused on, while you have the gig, you can create a stockpile that could protect you and start future ventures to protect you, your income, and your family as well. That's kind of where I'm going next.
Damn, that's big, bro. Honestly,
Love that for you.
We will be lucky to have you on more of anything. That's all I'm going to say, bro.
Thank
So
you,
I'm
brother.
looking forward to that TV shows. I'm also looking forward to a game of 30 seconds with you in future.
What are you talking about? Oh, wait.
That passion.
Are you
that came
wrapping
to-
up right now? Does that mean that it's done? It's for us to go.
Yeah, you have to go somewhere.
Yes, I do. Sorry.
We were lucky to catch you between two things. So, bro, I just want to, before we close off and I give you the thanks, actually, we have an important question for you. So,
Oh, I love.
If you could be any gibbet,
Yes.
what would you be? What would you be and why?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's. You know that there's a Gibbet series that has inspirational quotes.
Yes.
Solon. Sorry about my. Okay, look here. My croc has been. I'm just letting you know that I wear my Crocs.
Yeah.
This is why there's a bit of a blade fade on this one. So there is just there's a, look here. There is, and also this. Remember, this is not the croc of a child. This is my croc.
Okay.
But it could fit your 7-year-old daughter. But doesn't matter. There's one that says "BU" here.
I love that.
It says BU.
Yeah.
Crop this in and post. There we go. See that? It says BU. And I think that'll be a lovely one that I'll take on. Is because I think, as I mentioned, the screen that matters is the mirror. So I think it's very nice to have this one. I put this on actually for the catch-up podcast because I think it's important for me to leave you with something. And when I say BU, I don't mean it in a cliche sense.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean have the same work rate you put into your work and to your studies, put it into yourself,
Sure.
Yeah.
into your wellness
Power.
and to understanding who you are. That's what being you is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that you can nourish the people around you with a whole lot of you. Because trust me, you don't know who needs you right now.
Yeah.
And they are depending on you to be you. So
Yeah.
don't forget that.
100%. Bro, I just want to close off and say thank you to
Yeah.
you for being you. Thank you for your hard work also. Thank you for shining light on people and helping them to recognize the light that they have within themselves. Thank you for dreaming big. Thank you for not stopping. Thank you for your
Yeah.
creativity. Also, well thought out concepts that help all of us to become better people. Thank you for that. And most importantly, thank you for always keeping us laughing, bro.
Yeah.
I never get tired of your jokes and you always
Thank
got
you.
me in stitches. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your story. And we support you and we're sending you love and light always in everything that you do,
Yeah.
bro. Appreciate you very
And
much.
thank you for washing the dishes before we jumped on this podcast.
Yeah, there was a moment where I actually wanted to wash a few cups because I was waiting for somebody else. This is why it's such a popular, catch-up podcast. But no, it's been a privilege, and I just thank you for using the platform for this moment here. You are drawing out of the people sitting on this couch such nuggets that I think other people need to see and hear.
For sure.
And that is the most important thing, is that you're using your platform for what I told you to, is that it's purposeful.
Yeah.
And this is not only a catch-up. What you are doing is maybe you are catching up with people's purpose. And that is educating others to find theirs.
Yeah.
So don't think that this is just a cool venture, and love to have Crocs involved. I think making people feel very comfortable in their own Crocs is actually the most important and powerful and pertinent thing about what you're doing here.
Sure.
So don't forget that and keep on going, please. And don't stop. If you stop, I will find you. I have a unique set of skills and I'll get you back on the mic. Okay.
Love you, Carl, bro.
Love you.
Short,
Carl, bro.
man.
Appreciate you. Thank
Guys,
you.
this was super inspirational, super inspiring. I know you're going to love this one. Don't forget to comment below, turn on the notification, like, share, Blake's going to share the competition mechanics with you too.
Before I do, guys, I just want to say I don't think I laughed that much on an episode. So another shout out to Carl. Yo, I love it. Thank you, brother. What we're going to do now is we're going to make you smile. We got 3 Crocs vouchers ready to go. We're looking for 3 winners. Very simple, very easy. All you need to do is show some love. Comment, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, share on Instagram and TikTok. We're looking for those who are the most enthusiastic. Yeah. We want to reward you. We want to give you a free pair of Crocs. Other than that, guys, we enjoyed the episode so much and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Peace. Time.
Die!